Gender Clash episode 4. Here we are. 4 episodes in already. Woo! How you doing? Hey, what's up? Yo, baby, how you doing? All right.
How you doing?
So we couple of more subjects for today's show. Don't forget to jump in the Gender Clash discussion group. Yep, group page. Yep, group. Gender Clash discussion group. It's attached to our page. Jump in there, give opinions, give topics, give everything. After this one, we are fresh out of topics. We will have more, of course. We always do, but we want your topics. Much more important than our topics because we're just like saying, hey, that might be an interesting one. We want your topics, things that you're living or curious about, or you want to hear 2 other people give opinions on. So
and
you can also
we will eventually hopefully be live eventually, right? I mean, is that a goal?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
there were several people who wanted to like comment as we were talking, and obviously you can't do that because this is pre-recorded. And then people, well, my niece's boyfriend was like, I'm not going to give you topics unless I can be a guest. I'm like, yes, like we will have guests as well. I mean, obviously you have to come to our homes, or no?
No, they don't. They don't. You don't have to come to the home. We can do this remote, and they can do it on a phone, so they don't need a mic. It'll sound like a phone call, but that's cool. I mean, it'll
so not tech savvy. I don't know how this.
Yeah,
works.
no, I take care of all of that. If we're live, we can have discussion, but it'll be tough for me and you to conduct a show and respond. So I think the guest route is a better one. Get a caller on who wants to give a topic and then have us discuss it right there. We can certainly do that. That can be pre-recorded. And yes, the ultimate goal is to get live. That would be a lot of fun.
Yes. But so Matt, you will be a guest. You will be
Matt.
A guest. We will have you as a guest.
We will have you as a guest. You got it. We will. All right.
He was the one that started the meat and feet.
Well, yeah, he was totally involved in that one. Yeah, and he's
yeah.
because he's had pedicures and they're amazing, and the 2 of us were like, boom. Okay, so you can find Gender Clash podcast on various sites. The Spotify, Apple Podcast, all of those. We're also on YouTube, IG, Twitter, and of course Facebook. And if you're listening, you found us on one of those or the website, which is either genderclashpodcast.com, which is the direct one. Brings you to the same site as genderclash.podbean.com, which is the podcast hosting site. I don't expect anybody to understand what that means. Just go to the links. Check it out. This is episode 4. Many more to come. So let's talk a little bit about how do you decide who drives? That was given to us by a friend. I'm lukewarm on this. I don't know how far we can go with it, but let's have some fun and see what we can do. How do you decide who drives, or are there certain situations other than driving me to the hospital? Hey, Scoob. Other situations like driving me to the hospital where I can't drive, or when you're taking me to a medical procedure and we're on the way home, things like that. How do you decide who drives in general, or does it matter?
I mean, I think it's always been understood that you drive, and I don't have a problem with that. I mean, there are times where when you're driving, I'm like, oh my God, I should be driving, because you're just, sometimes I don't know if you're spacing out while you're driving or you're just not paying attention, but I'm like, ugh. And you've said to me, you want to drive? And I'm like, yes.
Well, usually when I say that, you're like, what are you doing? And it's like, well, the guy next to me freaking changed lanes on me. What do you want me to do? It's a lot of the times it's something I couldn't avoid. You're just like, babe. And I'm like, babe, do you want to drive? And you're like, no, I'm just saying, pay attention.
There's times where you don't brake quick enough.
Well, in your opinion, but I don't have accidents, so it's
this is another topic.
It's another topic.
Who's a better driver, men or women?
Well, not necessarily better, but who's more anxious in the passenger seat than the other one?
I am not anxious unless we're going to get into like an accident. I have avoided issues.
How many accidents have we had together? How many accidents have we had together?
1.
You and me? Never. Yeah. Not even 1. When do we have an accident?
Babe, remember when we first met and you hit the guy from the back?
Oh, because he started to move.
Raining.
Yeah, right. Yes, but that wasn't that there.
You weren't
that
paying
was
attention.
No, that was a stop sign, like a jug handle to get on a street. And when he moved,
we were getting onto Route 3.
We were getting onto a big street from a jug handle, and he started to move. So I turned around and looked and saw nobody, and hit the gas, and he had stopped. Right. And I tapped and I bumped his back. Yes, that is not the same thing as not paying attention. I mean, once he moves, at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm clear. I just have to make sure no one's coming. I look back, there's no one there. I start to move. Guy never moved. He's still there. It's like, dude, what are you still doing there? So, whatever. So how do you decide who drives?
I mean, for the most part, I guess I mean, I guess the man always drives, right? Isn't that
It's
crazy?
another societal
I
expectation. Yeah.
know, but I don't mind driving. Like, I actually enjoy driving. I don't mind driving. It's just that every time that we go somewhere, we're most times in your car. So you drive. So unless, like, there has never been an issue. Like, I was in a relationship where the guy would literally fall asleep behind the wheel once the sun went down. So I was always the driver if we were out at night because he literally would fall asleep.
Narcolepsy. Yeah.
Yes, like I think he had it and it was just like he just was not diagnosed, but I would always drive when like the sun went down. So like if we were going somewhere, he would drive, and on our way back, I would drive just for
That's
safety reasons.
That
Isn't
is a
that
clever.
crazy?
That is a clever dude, man. He's got a built-in. He's got a built-in designated driver by pretending he falls asleep. But one
But
minor
he
little accident, and you
would.
never have to drive again. That is. Oh man, I wish I would have
But
thought of
he
that one.
would, because I would be in the car and I would be like, hello. He'll be like, oh. And I'm like, no, no, no. Listen, pull over. Let's pull over the next gas station. I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I'm not doing
All
this.
he's got to do is do that once, and then the next 10 times he's like, you know me, I'm going to fall
Yes,
asleep, so you got to drive. I'm going to
yes,
drink. Oh,
yes,
clever. Look at
yes.
that. Damn,
Yeah. So like
I wish I
I could
thought of that when I
never
was
really
younger.
drink when we were out at night because I always had to be the driver. Isn't
He
that
got
crazy?
you good. He
And
got you good.
and that's the total opposite with us because you are really not a big drinker to begin with, but I always know that I can drink more because you're going to drive us home, babe.
I know. You should have seen the early 20s me, but I was definitely more of a drinker then. But
Thank you,
yes, I am
Jesus.
not much of a drinker now. And if we
No.
go out, I'm more than happy to drive. I'll have one drink, and sometimes I don't even have a
Yeah.
drink. I'll just nurse it. But
Right.
yeah,
And
that's fine.
listen, I don't ever get drunk, but but I probably have maybe one too many
I
where if
don't.
I get pulled over,
I don't
I
ever
would.
get drunk. That's pretty funny. You never get like stupid blackout drunk, but well, here's the thing. For those of you who don't know Maritza very
Right.
well, she will be, I'm fine, and then the cliff comes, she falls off it, and suddenly she's not fine. It's
Only
like,
if
oh
I
my,
drink liquor. Only
oh
if I
my
drink
God,
liquor.
where?
Wine, I'm not like that.
Yeah, because you don't drink a lot of. Who drinks enough wine to get like that? I mean,
I
it's just
do.
wine's a sipping drink.
I
It's like a
have.
hangout drink.
No, no, no. Wine, I have totally gotten like that. Yes, absolutely. But now I know. So wine is a much better choice. Like if I'm drinking like a mixed drink with like vodka, please.
But that's because it hits you faster.
Yeah, I am good. And then I'm totally like gone.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that. Like your mind will not let you lose control, so you
Right.
hang on till the very end, and when you can't do it anymore, boom, it all
Done.
comes out. Like the freaking gate falls, the stampede starts, and boom, all of a sudden, I got to freaking make sure you get home. And when you start to say, no, I'm fine, I know you're not fine. Yeah,
Right. Because I'm trying to convince myself I'm fine.
right. It's like I'm not the one. When that starts, it's
Yes.
over with you. When you're like, I'm not drunk, I'm fine. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. It's gonna be a long night.
Yeah.
You're gonna spend half the day in bed tomorrow complaining about needing a drink, needing water.
I also think that our personalities change because I can tell when you're like tipsy.
Right.
The way you say things, like your hand mannerisms, the way, and I'm probably the same way, right? Like you can tell when I'm starting to get tipsy.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you will always insist you're not.
Right.
Always. I remember the first time I saw that, we were in Atlantic City, and you're like, I'm fine. And then the next thing I know, we're sitting in one of the casino buffets trying to eat, and you were like, I practically had to prop you up. It was very funny.
I was like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. Oh my God, I'm dying.
I know. And you were like, no, I'm fine. I'm like, I was like, awesome. A chick who can handle her liquor. This is great. And then the next thing I know, I have a broken back from carrying you.
And we were like fairly new into the raid. It was like
very
3
new,
months.
a couple of months. Yeah, that was July. We weren't even official yet.
Was it July?
It was, it was
when
the
we went
Pink
to go
show.
see Pink? Oh,
Yeah,
July.
It was July. Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
2
So
months in. Yeah.
who decides how you drive was not a great subject on its own,
No.
but we branched out into some good stuff because of it. So there you go. That works. Okay.
Well, I think the one who, it's usually the man, unless like the man doesn't drive, right? There, like me, there are relationships where like the man doesn't, where like the man doesn't drive, so the woman always has to drive, which sucks.
Well, that is another great question. If you get into a relationship with someone who doesn't drive or doesn't have a car, doesn't even have a license, is that a problem for you? Where you now have to go pick them up for everything and drive to everything? Problem or no problem?
100% a problem.
I would totally agree with that. Yeah.
No, because obviously there's something behind the reason why they're not driving, whether they lost their license, whether they're too broke to have a car, whether, I don't know. I don't know why you wouldn't be driving.
I hear you. There's people who don't. Growing up in Brooklyn, I didn't get my license till late, and a lot of people didn't get their license till really, really late. Some of my friends didn't get until their mid-20s. In Brooklyn, there was literally 24-hour transportation. You could get anywhere, anywhere at any time without worry. So a lot of the times you didn't even need a car, and we didn't go far. We didn't go to Long Island. We didn't go to Jersey much, and then there was always someone with a car if you needed to. But when you live somewhere other than a big city like that with very available and very 24-hour transportation, you live anywhere else, you need a car. And if you're at a point like where we are in Jersey, you need a car for everything over here. If you were single on a dating app and met a guy from the town over and he didn't drive at all, I guess that'd be a problem for you.
And I have met guys who you meet online and they're like, oh, can you pick me up like at the train station? Like I can take the bus. And I'm like, what?
Take the bus to the train station and then take the train to
we
the
can't
plane.
do that. No, we can't do that. Even if I met no, that is such a turnoff to me. It's like, no, negative.
Okay. I have to say, even from the man's point of view, if I meet now, even though I'm gonna drive most of the time, if you don't have a license at all and you don't drive, not having a car, I guess, is a subjective thing, but not having a license at all when you're in your late 30s, 40s,
just means
50s,
that you're lazy, or that you're like an alcoholic and you've had like several DUIs and you've lost your license for life.
Judgy.
There are no other reasons.
There is reasons. You might not need it. You're sequestered in your own little space, and public transportation is enough. But that doesn't mean it's good enough for me. It doesn't mean it's good enough for me. If I living in Jersey like I do, if I met someone somewhere else who didn't have a car, it would certainly. I wouldn't say like you would be 100% deal breaker, but there better be a lot of things there that for me to kind of accept.
Listen, if I am dating you, and if you live in a city or a town where you don't need a car, then we have no business dating, because that means that we live too far away and I have to go over a bridge or a tunnel, and I'm not doing it.
Well, they could be in Newark. I mean, a city like that, but who the hell wants
Newark? People in Newark have cars.
I'm saying it as an example. That's a city where you have transportation.
Maybe like Jersey City or like Hoboken. Maybe a place like that where a car is just such a big inconvenience.
Babe. I picked the wrong city. You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Not Newark, please.
Okay. A big city where there's transportation. Insert name of city here. Okay. The point I'm trying to make, from my point of view, if I have to pick you up every single time, even if we're going to chill at my place, I got to drive all the way to get you and then come back just to have dinner. I'm not.
Negative.
Negative. I just can't see myself.
I've done
to do
it.
That. Yeah.
I've done it in my young years where like you meet a guy who like he lives in the city and you have to go pick him up at the trains. It's just like, it's such a turnoff. It's just seriously, like.
Yeah, I met someone from Philly once on one of the dating apps, and I had to go pick her up at the Edison train station. She'd take the train up. She didn't drive. So now I got to drive a half hour from where I was living at the time just to pick her up at the train station. Then, not only that, let's be real. I mean, then at that point, now you got to figure out how to get rid of the person. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't want you to stay longer than this.
Do they spend the night because they're taking public transport?
Then at that point, you almost have to expect they're spending. It's like, I don't want to do this. Then I got to drive back to the train station to make sure we can. No. That's just not doing it. Out of the question. Yep, I hear you.
Like, at this stage in my life, absolutely not. When I was 20 and I didn't care about that stuff, and I was just
you didn't know better. You didn't even know better at that. That's right. But if the bus or train is not coming a couple of blocks from my house, I'm not making a trip just to get you from the bus or train just to make another trip back. Because now I'm making 4 trips. I mean,
well, where you lived when like we met was like the perfect spot for you because the train was right there.
I know, but that train doesn't go to
the girl didn't need a car. She could just hop off the train and walk to your townhouse.
She would have had to go all the way up to like Newark and then come back down. And
that's to be her.
I hear you. And listen, I only saw her one time. After that, it was enough. So I didn't even get to the point where I was like, take the much longer trip, honey. You know what I mean? I'm like, after that one time, I was like, no.
Right, no. Yeah.
So, okay. Now, who pays when you go out? Obviously, you could pay here. Let's talk about the social stigma with a woman paying for a date. Let's start with the first date. Is there ever any situation where the woman should pay on the first date?
The first date?
Half or all or anything. Should a woman even pretend she has a pocket with money in it if there's a first date?
Okay. So on a first date, I feel like the girl should at least offer to pay for half just to be polite.
You didn't offer to pay for half the coffee on our first date. What's up with
You
that?
didn't even let me finish my tea.
Here we go.
Let's not go there.
Oh no, that's a whole episode in
Yeah.
itself.
I feel like you should at least offer.
But what if he says yes? Are you going to be pissed if he says yes?
No. Mm-mm.
No, really?
First
So you would
date? Yeah,
you would
no.
gladly contribute to half a first date when
Well, because a first date, when you meet somebody online, it's, you're just meeting that person. There's no, so it's a like mutual thing. But like if a guy asks you out and it's like your third time, like your third date, and if he asks you out and if he says, "Hey, I want to take you to this great restaurant." Yeah, buddy, you're paying.
bring your wallet or at least have your Venmo app ready.
You're paying. And if I have to pay, I will pay, and I'm done.
Okay,
Because it's
okay.
not a monetary thing. It's just a principle. It's like, ugh.
Okay, so fast forward to when, not even with us. I'm not going to talk about us. We're in a marriage. We have our own. We have money that's together. We use whatever
Right.
car we want. Whatever. You're now in a relationship. Do you sometimes offer to pay? Do you sometimes just
Yeah.
pay, or is the
Yeah.
expectation that the dude's paying every time you go out because men pay?
No, like even before we got married, like, like I would offer to pay sometimes, right? Like I'd be like, "No, babe," because, like sometimes I just feel bad that like the guy is always, 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 always paying. But if I wasn't financially stable and and the guy was super financial, like say if I wasn't working, or say if I was working part-time and you were making the money that you're making now, yeah, then I'd be like, "Sorry, dude, but yeah, it's all on you. Thanks, babe. Love you."
Reach into that wallet, mofo.
That's right. No, but there have been times where I have offered to pay, but I guess, I don't know. There are some women, again, I think it depends on their values, on their expectations, on, I don't know, where they feel like
Societal
the man
stigmas.
should always pay. Yeah. Like they feel like the man should always pay. And I don't necessarily think that that's true, where the man should always pay. I just feel like it's maybe more polite for the man to pay. But I think that if you have like, I don't know, like I just feel bad if a man is always paying.
Okay,
That's just me.
So the expectation isn't they should always. The expectation is that they should always pay, but you feel bad and like to throw a bone every once in a while.
Yeah, every once in a while, like depending on how much the bill's going to be. No.
Depending how much, or let's go back to two people who make roughly the same money. Should they be splitting the bill, or should the guy be paying because he's the guy?
Well, I think that if they're in an established relationship where they're sharing an account, then you just pay out of that account. Like sometimes, like we will do that. Like we'll pay out of our account, right?
We don't do that much because I don't like paying.
Right.
I don't like paying the money
know,
from our bank account.
Yeah.
Get the points on the credit card, pay the bill later, and then you have all kinds of free money. Right.
So I just like paying for it, knowing that I don't owe anything.
Well, that's when we fly somewhere on points and we don't have to pay for it. That's the result of doing it that way. You would be amazed how much money there is in credit cards. Now, again, you don't want to. I use them for bigger things as well and carry a balance here and there. But if you do all your bills on a credit card and then pay it off, by the end of the year, you'll have a whole bunch of free money. It's just the way it works. It might be only a few $100s. It could be thousands. Depends what you spend. But you will have free money that is given to you just for not paying with money that out of your account. It's just
right. Whatever. See, but I don't pay a card off like that. I do now because I don't really use my credit cards, but like in the past, I'll be like, "Oh, I'll just pay this much and I'll have, extra cash in my account to spend on other things." So that's not how I think. Like you are the more like the money man, you think more logical, you think like that. I don't think like that. So
right. Anyway. I had to force you to use a credit card to get the points.
I know.
And I was like, "Babe, you're leaving all that money on the table."
I just want to pay with my debit card. Yeah.
Right.
No, but I think that society tells you that the man should pay. I think that if a woman has a little bit, I think you have to be a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Thoughtful and just a little, I don't know, like, just pay every once in a while. Like, I don't think the man should always pay, especially like if you're both making good money. Like, I think, but then there are some men who absolutely will not allow a woman to pay. And is that,
well, I'm kind of like that.
True?
I'm kind of like that. I don't, that's my point of view is I grew up in an era where the man pays. So I generally pay. And that extends to
Right.
friends too. It's a total chauvinistic thing. Even when I've gone out with friends who I wasn't dating, never dated, I offer to pay. That's just how I am.
No, but
And
I think it's
yeah,
because you're probably more financial. I mean, you're
no, I
probably.
wasn't always. I wasn't
Oh,
always. I
okay.
mean, I
Even when you
wasn't.
were broke, you would want to pay for everybody's bill.
Not everybody. I'm not going out with 10 people and paying for the bill. I'm
Oh,
saying like
okay.
if I went out with a friend, even male or female. I mean, a male will sometimes split it. A group of people will split it, but
Right.
it is. I will say flat out, it is a chauvinistic thing. It is just something from a bygone era where I believe the man pays, and it doesn't matter if it's someone I'm dating or not. I've always been that way. Just even way back, I've just always been that way. And my friends have this thing where like, oh, you're so generous, you're this and that. But a lot of it is because that's just the way I feel. But I am also generous. I will give the shirt off my back to help someone out. But at
Right.
the same time, I almost feel like it's an obligation, psychological thing on my part.
Why?
I don't know.
If there's like men at the table too, why do you feel like you have to
Oh no,
pay?
I don't. No. I don't feel like it's men at the table. I'm saying man-woman thing. Man-woman thing. I
Oh,
generally like to pay, and it probably goes back to the same thing we were talking before, where if someone buys a more expensive gift, I feel inadequate. It's all
mm,
tied into that thing. And as much as I'm a progressive in a way, I guess I have a chauvinistic attitude in a positive way, as opposed to a negative way. I don't have that you better be cleaning the house and having my dinner ready when I come home attitude, but I do have the
thank
if you're going
God.
to spend more what.
Thank God you don't.
I do have that. If you're going to spend more, I feel inadequate and have to spend as much attitude. I guess if there's positive chauvinism, I guess that's it there. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I've just gotten used to you paying all the time, and there's times where I'm like, "No, babe, I got it." You're like, "No," and I'm like,
Yeah,
"No,
like my
no."
birthday.
No, there are times where we have been out and we're like, "I'll pay for this," and you're like, "No," and I'm like, "No, babe, let me pay." You're like, "Thank you," But it's far. Like, I can probably count on one hand in the last 4 or 5 years. So
There you
I
go.
don't know. Yeah.
All right. One more. This should be an interesting one to a degree, and then we have a real good one that'll be fun.
Okay.
We got this from your little show there too. Uh,
Oh.
what about playing on your phone while you're watching a movie together? Now, you and
Mm-mm.
me generally will
No,
do stuff.
my
Yeah.
friend. No, my
Oh, that was your
friend
friend.
said that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you got it from the show. Okay,
No,
there
no,
you go.
no, no. That
All
was
right, so
Ayelet. Ayelet,
play.
this is
Oh,
your
okay.
topic.
There
Yeah.
you go. Hello, Ayelet. Ayelet is a female, by the way, for those of you who don't know the
Yes.
name, right? So,
She's my
so
Jewish friend.
So you and I, just speaking from our point of view, you and I watch TV, and generally one or the other, or sometimes both, are always on it at some point with something going on. Now, I don't sit there just for the hell of it. It's usually if something's going on or I'm expecting an email, whatever. I don't just get on, scroll through Facebook most of the time, or start watching videos or whatever else. I personally think if you're watching TV together, you should be watching TV together and not doing unnecessary things on your
I
phone
think that
because
you do more Facebook than what you realize.
I don't know. I'm not
Yeah.
not as much while we're watching TV.
Mm. I was bad when I was involved in the rescue because it was just constant. So I was
Well,
always on my phone.
I still think you're not as bad as you realize because there's a lot of times I'll want to say, babe, you're missing stuff here, and then you're going to ask me 20 questions later about what you
Well,
missed,
it's
and that
because
happens a lot.
it's maybe because I'm like maybe because I've posted something about Emmett and I'm getting like all these notifications or these messages and I'm just curious about what people are saying, but I don't think that I'm mindlessly looking through my phone.
No, I
There's
don't.
a purpose to it.
Agreed, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Generally, we both do that, and for the most part, unless we're watching something where I know you're going to ask a bunch of questions and I'm going to have to explain it, where I'll be like, "Babe, you're missing things. Watch this." I generally just let it go, whatever, because sometimes we'll binge for 3 hours. Nobody has the attention span to
Right.
sit there for exactly three
And
hours.
maybe I'm just getting like a little bit bored from the show, or maybe it's just not catching my attention. Or there are times where I am starting to get sleepy and I don't want to fall asleep. So I just pick up my phone so I can do something different to kind of get that second wave. Because let's face it, it
You can't sit
takes
for
me
longer
about
than 5 minutes.
15 minutes. Yeah, it takes me about 15 minutes before my eyes are closing.
That is very true. Yep. That's why we have to start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But even then,
I
after 2 hours,
know.
then you're like, it's
I'm
six
done.
o'clock. Why am I falling asleep? Yep.
I
There you
know,
go.
I know. And then I just
All
need
right.
like a little, like a 15-minute power nap, and then I'm back for like 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Your 15 minutes gains
Like
you
we did
5.
last night. I'm like, let me just take a power nap. Then I got up and I don't know. I was good for a half hour, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess. Well,
maybe.
the problem was it's a 2 hour show, so
I
we didn't even get
know.
halfway through it by the time you were done.
Right.
All right. Okay. So in a general sense, what is the thought about two people spending time together watching TV and just mindlessly, as you say, mindlessly scrolling through their phone? Acceptable,
It
not
depends
acceptable?
on what you're watching, and it depends on, yeah, I think it depends on what you're watching.
Wouldn't it depend on not depend? Wouldn't it be more I don't even know the word to use here. Wouldn't it be more polite, for lack of a better word, to spend time with your significant other when you're spending time with your significant other?
Yeah,
Or is
but
that not really a thing anymore?
well, yeah, but when you're watching TV, you're in the same room, but are you really spending time with them? Because you're really watching the TV. It's not like you're having like a conversation. Like it's not like we're talking about something and then I just randomly pick up my phone to start scrolling on something.
Yeah,
So,
but if we're watching TV together, it's a show we're both watching, and
right.
we're watching it. Right. That's
I
kind of
think
like
it's
it's.
rude. I think it's rude.
I agree. I agree. I think if you're
I think
watching a
we should
show,
stop doing it.
okay.
I think we should both collectively stop doing it.
Okay. That's there you go.
I do. I think it's rude
I
because I feel like that is how we spend most of our quality time together these days, right? Like we watch shows together. Like that's our
right.
quality time together. So
I agree.
yeah, so I think maybe we should just put our phones like in the kitchen.
I don't have a
Put the
problem with that.
ringer
Yeah.
on. Put the ringer on. So like if the phone rings, we can go check to see who's calling because we may miss an important call. You know, like it may be something about your children or whatever. So we should put our phones in the kitchen, put the ringer on, and let it be. And unless our phone rings, we do not get up to look at it.
Right, and I only have my ringer on. I don't have any other notifications on. So
Oh,
I
see,
yeah, only my ringer, and that's
I
that.
put
If you
everything
need
on
me,
vibrate or silent. Yeah,
yeah, no. If you need me in an emergency, call me. Don't text me because if I don't
there
have
you
the phone
go.
in front of me, I'm not going to know. So,
There you
all
go.
right. So in a general sense, I think in this one we're both in agreement. I think if
Yeah,
you're watching TV together and you're spending time together, you should spend that time together. That way, like you and me will watch shows and then. We'll get to the next episode, and sometimes we'll talk about what we saw, or even at a different time.
right.
When we're making, we're in the kitchen together making breakfast, or we're making our separate dinners. That's just a good topic too. Should couples eat together? But
Yeah,
yeah, but we will talk about it and say, hey, remember this, remember that. If you weren't paying attention or I wasn't paying attention, we may not be able to have a discussion about it either, and that kind of defeats the purpose as well. So I'm
right.
on board with that.
But my girlfriend said that she can multitask, so she doesn't find it a problem. I think Mark had a problem with it, and Ayala was like, "I can multitask, so I don't see the reason. What's the big deal?"
That's not multitasking. That's not paying attention.
Well,
That's
I think
sorry,
she
Ayala.
viewed it as multitasking.
Sorry, multitasking is when you're on a computer and you answer the phone and you're doing all these. When you are spending time with somebody and you are taking your attention away to do something else, I don't feel that's multitasking.
Right, but
I
the
can
other thing
multitask too, like that.
is that their quality time together? Like that may not be their quality time together.
Well,
So it's
apparently he feels it is.
so it's not meaningful.
Well, maybe he feels it is. Obviously, if he brought it up, then obviously he feels that there's some sort of expectation. So maybe they should set some rules, like we just did. We
Okay.
just said we're
So
going to put the
listen,
phones away, right?
she put and my topic is playing on your phone while watching a movie. I think it's fine because I'm capable of multitasking. Mark thinks it ruins his experience.
Okay,
There you
and
go.
that's a discussion between the two of them. I can understand that because when
Yeah.
sometimes we will watch a show that I've seen before and I want you to watch it and you're missing things. And
Right.
generally what'll happen is later on in the show, you'll be like, oh my God, why did that happen? I'm like, didn't you see? And like, then I'll
I
have to
feel
stop it
that
and
way too.
right.
Yeah.
I'll have to explain that stuff to you. So he probably feels that way. Cause like me, I love spending we've talked about this. The one show we mentioned earlier that we
Right.
watched together, I don't
Yes.
absolutely love the show. I like it. But for me,
Oh,
it's
come
something we
on. It's
no,
good.
it's something we do together, and I enjoy that. So I don't absolutely. You've seen me tear the show apart and complain about things, but I like it enough to watch it with you, which is what this is about. So if Mark is anything like I am, then he wants to experience that with her, wants her to watch it, and he wants her to at least understand what's going on so they can discuss it. So that's my guess, and I agree with him.
Right.
If you're watching something where you're missing things, or I could see that taking away from his experience. Totally.
Right.
I could totally see that because it has done that for me too when I've had to explain. And sometimes I'll say to you, babe, you're going to end up asking me about this later. Pay attention. And to your credit, you're like, okay. And you put it down. So I don't
Right.
think it's a conscious effort on either of our parts to say, screw this.
No.
I don't want to do it. Right. So
I see that point because if I have watched something and I'm so excited, I'm like, oh my God, babe, you got to
yeah,
watch
look at
this. And you're like, yeah, but you already watched it. I'm like, no, no, no. It was so
right.
good that I want to watch it again. And then you're like scrolling on your phone.
Yeah, so
I'm
like that
like,
movie we watched
you
recently where
don't,
you were like, no, 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 you have to
yes,
pay attention here, right? And I was like,
unforgivable.
okay,
Yes. I was
right,
like, what?
right,
How can you want to pick up
right.
your phone during this time?
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
so if there's a situation where you're both watching something for the first time and you don't know what's coming, you might just view it as a little bit like, "Hey, man,
It's
watch it with me." But
rude. You're
if
like
you're watching something,
deflating the
yeah, if
experience.
you're watching something that one of you has seen before and you want the other to catch on to things, then it's like, what are you doing? But
Right.
to bring it back around full circle, I do not agree that that is considered multitasking. I think that is concentrating on something else. And I don't care what you're doing. You can't pick up little nuances in movies or TV shows if you're doing something on a phone. You just can't do it, whether it's
I
something said
agree.
or a situation. So,
No, but I think
sorry, Ayala.
Ayala can. I think she is brilliant enough to be able to pull that off.
I don't see how
I
you
think
can pay
she
attention
is.
and pick up all the nuances and
No,
still be doing
Ayala
something.
can. I think
All
she
right.
can.
All
I
right.
think
So
she
one day
can.
I am going to test Ayala on that.
Yeah.
I'm going to put on a show with something subtle going on, and 5 minutes later, I'm going to let her scroll on her phone, and I'm going to test her 5 minutes later to see if she actually absorbed the nuance. Because there's a lot, especially the shows I make you watch. They are not straightforward things. A lot of them there are little things you have to pick
Right.
up
There's little
because
plots.
they come
Yeah.
back later. Yeah, like Breaking Bad was a good one.
Oh
And
God,
we watch
Breaking Bad.
Ozark together. Those things,
Oh,
if you don't pay attention to those shows, something happens 10 minutes, especially Ozark, even more because Ozark things happen so fast.
they have
Like
ruined
Breaking
me.
Bad is a little bit more of a slow burn. So like the thing may not come back for 4 episodes.
Slow burn. That thing broke me.
I know, but a lot of the things that happen in Breaking Bad won't necessarily come to a head till 4 or 5 episodes later.
Right.
Ozark solves them all in an episode or two. It moves so fast. They go from this to this to this to that, and suddenly they have a casino where it wasn't allowed. They've bribed the governor. Boom, 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 all in one episode. If you
Right.
miss one little thing with that,
You're
then
like, wait a minute. How did they
you're
get
gone.
there?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't think in a show like that. I don't care how brilliant Ayala is, and she's obviously
She's
brilliant. I know
brilliant.
she's
She
very
is.
smart. I don't think
Yes.
she can pay attention to all those things, grasp all of them, and be doing something else. I just don't see how it can happen. You're going to miss something that is important to that show. And if she
Okay.
can, then she's from another
Maybe
planet,
it's
and she
something
needs to.
that's not like capturing her interest. So maybe they have to both agree to watch movies or shows that they are both equally interested in.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
Right?
watch something the way you don't need that. Like I'll give an example, your housewives things or the Kardashians. You don't necessarily have
What?
to you don't have
What?
to know everything that's going
You
on. You
will
know
never see me scrolling on my phone during that.
I understand that, but for me, if I was going to watch something, which I do not, so let's get that straight. I don't watch those. It's been on when I'm in the room, but I'm not watching. If I was going to watch that and I missed something earlier, it's not going to crush every hope I have of understanding what's going on. If
It
later in
is
the
because
no,
something happened in like the scene prior that brought them to
yeah,
this conversation, and
but
you're like, well,
but
why
you
are
can
they
explain that
upset?
to me in one sentence. Oh,
Uh,
she did this, and I'm like, oh, okay, boom, done. Like
yeah.
with Ozark, I'm like, well, they bribed the governor, and then this guy shot that guy, and then she went and slept with this guy so they
Uh,
can do it. And I have to explain
uh,
70 different things and how they tie together. That's a whole different story.
right. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
here's a
So
good one.
we both agree
Okay,
that we shouldn't do it.
yes, and so
So
look at that.
phones go in the kitchen.
We came up with a new procedure based on this question.
There
Thank
you
you,
go.
Ayala.
Look at that, Ayala.
All
Thank
right,
you,
this should
Mama.
be a good one. This one you and me talked about last night, and then realized it's a good
Oh.
topic
Mm-hmm.
because this is the man and the woman thing, and totally great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so someone on one of the shows had asked somebody else. I guess this was your show, not that question.
Yes.
Someone had asked a guest why they married their husband or their spouse or whichever one it was, right? So you said, "Why did you marry me?" And I laughed. And you're like, "No, I'm serious." So we tried to have a serious discussion, and 2 minutes into this discussion, we realized that, of course, we see things so completely differently that we were like, let's just save it for the podcast. So Maritza looks at me and says, "Why did you marry me?" And I said, "Well, I love you. I don't want to be with anyone else, and we've built a life together, and I want to be here." And her point of view was that wasn't good enough. That that's of course
No.
you love me, of course you want to be here, or you wouldn't be here. You also had asked if I would be okay if we weren't married, and I had said yes. I made it official because it was important to you, but I was here either way. I was here regardless of whether we actually made it official and got quote unquote married. I was going to be here either way. I love you. We have a life together. We're doing all these things. If I did not feel I was going to be there no matter what, we would not have had a house. We would not have built the life together. So that progressed to me saying, well, all right, if you need a specific answer, I love you. I don't want to be with anyone else. You do all these things for me. Eventually, we got to trust, which was a big thing for both of us. But you felt that because I love you, I want to be here and don't want anybody else is not a sufficient answer. And I think it's a great answer. I think it's the truth. I mean,
Well,
how much more how much more elaborate do you want to get?
my perspective is you have loved other women in your life and you didn't marry them. Well, I mean, you married one, but you know what I'm saying? Like, love shouldn't be enough. Love is never enough. So I was like, you just because you love me? Okay. Like,
But the thing is all the little things that we do for each other are tied into that love. It's why I love you.
right.
It's why I love you. It's not so I guess it is a simple answer without
I
breaking down
wanted you
every
to
tiny
have
thing.
like the title and then like the subtitles and like bullet points. Like I wanted you to
I'll,
give me like
I'll get a
specific
PowerPoint
bullet points.
presentation ready
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. And then I said, I'm like, and then my response is I will let you respond how you responded. So my answers was because you just like support me in anything and everything I want to do. Like you support my passion. Like, you know, you support like my dog passion and you help me in it and you've encouraged me to do it and you've pushed me to do it. And, you're just so giving and so selfless about everything that I want to do in life.
Okay. And my response was that nowhere in there is any kind of like, this guy does it for me.
Wait,
I
but
love
you
you so much.
do.
I look at you. Then this goes back to what we said
That
earlier
should be
where,
understood.
right. But like you support my dog habit and you do this and
Habit.
you've given me all of right. You've given me all of this. That's all, in my opinion, that's all like, I don't want to say frivolous because it's not frivolous, but that is all like, I don't want to say shallow either, but that's all surface stuff that you could get from a friend, you can get from a group of
No,
people. Like, in
no.
my opinion, I because I love you, I don't want to be with anyone else is deeper than because you do that, because you support me too. I mean, there's times you'll give me a hard time about things, but in the end, you don't stop me, you don't tell me whatever, you don't always agree, but you'll support my stuff too. But that's not the reason. That's not a reason I would marry you, because that's just a mature adult who doesn't
Yeah, but I
force
think
their
that
opinion on
yeah,
someone.
but I think it's shallow to say, "Oh, because you're beautiful and you do it for me." And like that's shallow
No.
because eventually I'm not going to look the way I look right now. So there has to be other things.
Well, obviously there is, because I mean, anybody could go find someone who's good looking and whatever. I mean, there's good looking people out there. It doesn't mean they do whatever.
Right.
Instead of taking the perspective, well, you've loved other women before, flip it around and say, I've only married one. It ended in divorce, so obviously it wasn't the right one. And then I waited 15 years and got married again. And there's
And
something
you said you
special
would
about
never
you.
get married again.
I
See
did
that?
say I would never
You
get
did. And
married
I was like,
again.
all right, we'll see, buddy.
We'll
We'll
see, but
see.
right. And I would have been happy not being married again and just being with you, but it was important to you,
Right.
so we did it. But my answer is again, it's a whole bunch of little things tied into why. And I waited 15
Right.
years to get married again. Yes, I did say I would never get married again, but at the end of the day, regardless of whether we actually get married, not get married, I was here for the long haul because I love you, because you do all these things for me. If you want to now have a person dissect why they love you and why you're different than everybody else, we could do that too. But that wouldn't necessarily be why I married you. I married you because of all these little things that add up to one thing, and those little things add up to that one thing are a separate subject, in my opinion. Why do you love me?
And
It's
that
just,
just
yeah.
proves that men are very simple and they just give a very simple
Yes.
answer. And women like give you those bullet points. And then there's more bullet points behind that.
Right. But
It's like,
getting back to like me calling it somewhat of not a shallow answer, but like a surface answer, is like, if you broke down that further on me, I would be like, yeah, I mean, you really do it for me. One little kiss can make me do this. Or if I see you walk in the room, or like I sometimes people want to hear like, not like, oh, you support me, big deal.
oh,
Like you walk in the room and say, damn, when I see you, I just my get butterflies in my stomach, something like that. That is something that not everyone can do for you. Anybody, you could find people to support you. It doesn't have to be a romantic thing, but not everybody is going to give me butterflies. Not everybody's going to make my stomach move a little bit from one little kiss. You know what I mean? Not everybody does
do I
that.
give you the rumbles?
You give me the rumbles. Yeah, just even a tiny little kiss, you give me the rumby rumps. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
No,
So,
and listen,
right. So, I,
beyond all of your amazing characteristics, yeah, like I find you very attractive. When I look at you, I have so much admiration and respect. And I look at you and I'm like, that is my husband. Like, that is amazing. Like, that's my husband, and I'm very proud of that. And it's because there's so many things about you that no one has, like, not one man that I have met in my past has given me everything that you have given me plus more. So those are the reasons why I married you. Like, that's, I don't know, well, like, and the girls that answered the question, like, they gave specifics. They were very like specific. What? Jordan Sparks said something like, because my husband finally saw me. He saw me. And, she's a fairly famous person. And she said, because someone finally saw me. And I thought that was very sweet. And then Adrian was like, because regardless of what happened in my life, I always wanted to have him a part of my life.
Right. That's basically my answer. Your answer was like, well,
you didn't say it so eloquently.
It doesn't matter how eloquently I said it. It's the same message.
Because I love you.
No. I said I love you, and I don't want to be with anyone else, and we've built a life together. How is that so much different than what she said?
It's different.
No. The words are different.
Regardless of what happens in my life, I always wanted Israel to be a part of it.
Okay, and that's pretty much what I said. That's pretty much what I said without using the same words. Okay, I feel like this is an extension where if I was a less secure person in my own things and didn't know things from actions rather than words, I would be like, wow, because I support her, because I gave her a nice life, that's why she know. But that is an extension of what we talked about in another episode, where you're not the affectionate person going to come up and show it affectionately, but you show it in the little things you do that make me happy. And this is a similar type thing, not in the same vein, but the same type of thing where you're going to show it a certain way and not in the way that most people want to hear. My answer for the intent of it is no different than, I don't know, Adrian, the second person you mentioned. My answer is no different than hers. You do it for me, and I want to spend my life with you. It's that simple. It is not based on things you might do for me.
Yeah, oh my God, like, we can have a 2-hour discussion as to why I married you.
Well, go. We got plenty of time. We got nothing going on. I'm just kidding. I don't want to make this about us. I think maybe our experiences to answer the question, but we don't know. So sappy. Yeah, I'll give you a card that explains it more.
There you go.
All right.
Your cards are always amazing. So
well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So that is what was this? It was episode 4 already.
43 minutes.
43 minutes. And don't forget to jump into the Gender Clash discussion group and give us some topics. Comment on these. Talk to each other.
We can have an extension as to these topics. Maybe we can extend it into another topic by the things that you say to us or the comments that you have. Yeah.
And we've done that today. We took some subjects that may not be great and went in different directions with them. And I think we did well on the various things we did this episode and others. So
absolutely.
Check us out on Spotify, Apple Music. If you're listening to this already, you obviously know all of that, but you can find us there if you don't want to go to the website. We are on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and of course, Facebook. Facebook's where you'll find a discussion group where you can give us topics and just talk about things, and we will interact with you directly. We will certainly be in there. Have a great weekend, day, whenever the heck you're listening to this. Enjoy your time, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Bye, guys.